Hello, and welcome back to the Easy English Way, the podcast designed to help you improve your English skills in a practical, clear, and enjoyable way. How is your English learning journey going? Many intermediate learners, maybe like you, reach a point where you understand quite a lot. You can watch movies, read articles, understand conversations, but when it's your turn to speak, things feel slow. Does this sound familiar? You have great ideas in your head, but finding the right English words takes time. You might pause a lot, searching for vocabulary or trying to translate directly from your native language. Maybe you worry about making mistakes, so you hesitate even more. It's that frustrating feeling of, I understand, but I can't speak smoothly, something we've touched upon before here on the podcast. If this sounds like you, then today's episode is exactly what you need. We're going to talk about a powerful technique to help you think faster and speak smoother in English. We're going to explore how to use language chunks and sentence starters to make your conversations flow more naturally and confidently. So first, let's understand the problem a bit better. Why do we often pause and hesitate when we speak English, even when we know a lot of words and grammar rules? For many learners, the main reason is mental translation. We think about what we want to say in our native language first. Then we try to translate that thought, word by word, into English. Let's imagine you want to ask someone their age. In your language, maybe you think something like, "What number is your age?" If you translate that directly, word for word, it sounds strange in English. A native speaker wouldn't say that. They use a fixed phrase, a chunk. How old are you? It's automatic for them. This translation process takes time. Your brain is doing extra work. 1. Forming the thought in your native language. 2. Searching for the English equivalent for each word. 3. Trying to put those English words in the correct grammatical order. 4. Worrying if it sounds right. All these steps happen in milliseconds, but they add up, causing those pauses and hesitations, those ums and ahs. Another big reason is the fear of making mistakes. When we focus too much on being perfect, we analyze every single word before we say it. Is this the right preposition? Is this the correct verb tense? This overthinking slows us down massively. We become afraid to just speak. Finally, we often try to build every sentence from scratch, using individual vocabulary words like Lego blocks. Sometimes this works, but often it leads to sentences that are grammatically correct, but sound a bit unnatural or take too long to construct. Native speakers don't always build from scratch. They use pre-built sections, language chunks. So, the goal is to reduce this mental translation, overcome the fear of mistakes by having reliable phrases ready, and learn to use these pre-built sections of language. All right, let's talk about the solution. Language chunks and sentence starters. What exactly are they? A language chunk is simply a group of words that are commonly used together by native speakers. They can be short phrases like "by the way," or "on the other hand," or "never mind." They can also be longer patterns or frames for sentences like "I was wondering if you could," or "what I mean is," or "the main reason is." Some people call them collocations, fixed phrases, or lexical bundles. It doesn't matter what you call them. The important thing is that they are groups of words that act like a single unit. Think about your own native language. You probably use hundreds of these chunks every day without even realizing it. You don't think about each individual word in phrases like, "How's it going?" or "See you later." You just know the whole phrase and its meaning. Sentence starters are a type of language chunk that specifically helps you begin your sentences easily and confidently. Phrases like, "in my opinion," or "first of all," or "could you tell me," give you a smooth way to launch into what you want to say. Why is learning and using these chunks so helpful for intermediate learners? There are several big benefits. 1. Reduces thinking time. When you use a chunk like, "as far as I'm concerned," you recall one item from your memory, not 4 individual words. This frees up your brain power to focus on the rest of your message, not just how to start it or connect it. Less thinking time means faster speaking. 2. Increases fluency. Because you're not pausing as much to search for words or translate, your speech becomes smoother and flows better. Using chunks helps bridge the gaps between your ideas. 3. Sounds more natural. Language chunks are the phrases native speakers actually use. When you incorporate them into your speech, you automatically start sounding more like a native speaker and less like someone who is translating. Your rhythm and intonation can also improve. 4. Builds confidence. Knowing you have a collection of reliable phrases ready to use makes speaking less scary. When someone asks your opinion, you don't panic. You can start confidently with, "Well, from my point of view." This success builds more confidence for future conversations. 5. Reinforces grammar. Many chunks contain correct grammatical patterns. For example, "I'm looking forward to" is always followed by a noun or a gerund. For example, "I'm looking forward to the party," or "I'm looking forward to meeting you." Using the chunk correctly helps you practice the grammar pattern without consciously thinking about the rule every time. So, using chunks isn't cheating. It's how fluent speakers communicate efficiently. It's a key part of moving from knowing English to using English effectively. The important question is, how do you actually learn and practice these chunks so you can use them automatically? Here are some practical steps. 1. Become a chunk detective. Notice them. Start paying active attention when you listen to English. Listen to this podcast. Watch TV shows or movies. Use subtitles if needed. Listen to native speakers if you can. When you hear a phrase that seems common or useful, write it down. Ask yourself, is that a chunk? Do people say that often? Reading is also great for spotting chunks. 2. Keep a chunk notebook, digital or physical. Don't just notice them, collect them. Create a special section in your notebook or a file on your computer or phone. Write down the chunk, its meaning or function, and maybe an example sentence. You could organize them by function or by topic. For example, chunks for meetings, chunks for travel. 3. Start with high-frequency chunks. Focus on the chunks that you will use most often in your everyday conversations. The ones for opinions, agreeing or disagreeing, asking for clarification are usually very useful for intermediate learners. Don't try to learn obscure idioms right away. Focus on the practical building blocks first. 4. Practice saying them out loud. Read the chunks from your list. Say them again and again. Get your mouth used to the sounds and the rhythm. Record yourself and listen back. Does it sound smooth? 5. Use them actively. The most important step. Knowledge is not enough. You need to use them. Set yourself a small goal. Try to use 1 or 2 new chunks in your speaking practice each day. If you talk to yourself in English, which is a great technique, use them. If you write emails or messages, try to include them. If you have a language partner, make a conscious effort to use a few chunks during your conversation. Start small. Using just 1 new chunk successfully in a real conversation is a big win. Remember, the key is consistent, active practice. Noticing, collecting, saying, and using. Okay, let's wrap up today's episode of the Easy English Way. We've talked about a common challenge for intermediate learners: understanding English well but struggling to speak smoothly and quickly. We identified that translating word by word from your native language and the fear of mistakes are often the main culprits. The solution we explored is learning and using language chunks and sentence starters, those ready-made groups of words that native speakers use all the time. We looked at why they are so powerful. They reduce your thinking time, increase your fluency, make you sound more natural, and boost your confidence. And most importantly, we discussed how to learn them. Notice them in listening and reading, collect them in a notebook, practice saying them, and actively use them in your own speaking. Start small, be consistent, and be patient with yourself. This isn't an overnight fix, but consciously adding language chunks to your active English usage is one of the most effective ways to bridge the gap between understanding and speaking. It helps you move away from slow mental translation and towards thinking and reacting more directly in English. It helps you think faster and speak smoother. So, your homework from today's episode is to become a chunk detective. Start listening and reading with a focus on noticing these phrases. Write down maybe 5 useful chunks you discover this week and try to use them when you practice speaking. This is all part of the easy English way, finding practical strategies that make a real difference. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this episode helpful and feel motivated to start using language chunks. Keep practicing, stay curious, and enjoy your English learning journey. Join me next time for another episode of The Easy English Way. Happy learning!